Installing an aftermarket amplifier can significantly improve the performance of your car audio system. But if you're new to custom car audio, all of the connections needed for an aftermarket amplifier can be a bit intimidating. In this video, we're going to break down each of these connections one by one. We're going to discuss common mistakes with each connection to avoid, and we're going to give you some additional information to assist you on your journey to installing an aftermarket amplifier. Now, real quick, a thank you to our sponsor for this episode, KnuKonceptz. If you are installing an aftermarket amplifier, you're going to need an amplifier wiring kit. KnuKonceptz has a wide variety of different kits that include everything you need for making the connections that we're going to explain. The wire and fuse blocks in their kits are easy to use, reliable, and a solid value. Personally, I've used KnuKonceptz for many years, long before I even started this YouTube channel in 2011. I've always had a great experience, and that's why I feel so great recommending them to you. Learn more about their amplifier wiring kits at the links down in the video description. The amplifier that we're going to be using as an example in this video is from our other show sponsor, JL Audio, and this is the RD900/5. The reason I chose this amplifier is for the fact that it's a 5-channel amplifier, which means it's capable of powering both speakers and a subwoofer or subwoofers. I wanted to pick an amplifier that powers both speakers and subwoofers because the connections that we're going to be explaining are pretty much universal between either a subwoofer amplifier or a multi-channel amplifier. So to begin, let's talk about the power connections. The first of which is going to be your positive 12-volt connection, and this is going to connect to the battery of your vehicle. In an amplifier wiring kit, this is why usually the longer wire is going to be for that connection because it has the longest distance to go between the amplifier and where the battery is positioned. It is absolutely critical that at some point on the wire you add an inline fuse. Typically you want that inline fuse mounted as close to the battery as possible, but we have a full video on the channel that goes more into detail on how to choose the exact fuse size, along with videos diving into the best mounting solutions for these inline fuse blocks. Now, a critical mistake to avoid here, that wire needs to be capable of handling quite a bit of current going into the amplifier. So we can't be using small, little, tiny gauge wiring like this if we're using a powerful amplifier. That's why we need to size the wire properly. I also have a video all about properly sizing wire here on the channel, and you can also oftentimes refer to the instruction manual for the amplifier to determine exactly what size wire and fuse size you should be using. Now, the next connection that we need to make on our amplifier is for the ground, and this is going to complete the circuit connecting between the amplifier and the body or frame of the vehicle, which then is connected back to the negative battery terminal, fully completing that electrical circuit. Usually in amplifier wiring kits, you're going to find that the ground wire is shorter. But a common mistake I want to point out here to you guys so that you don't make the same mistake is you need to make sure that your ground wire is sized to be the same size as your power wire. Unfortunately, I've often seen where people think that, okay, all the power is used up by the amplifier out of the positive wire, so you only need a really small wire to complete the return path, but that's not true because it is a full path. We need to make sure that everything is sized appropriately. To connect the ground wire to the ground of the vehicle, we typically will use a ring terminal, but it's also very critical that we use a good grounding point. I have a full video all about this on the channel as well. The next connection we need to make is for the remote connection, and a lot of times people new to car audio think that that's some sort of connection that allows us to remotely control the amp and turn up the volume up and down and that sort of thing, but that is not the case. What the remote does is it allows us to tell this amplifier when it should turn on and off. You see, this connection here is going to be 12 volts positive at all times. It's a constant source. The ground is always going to be connected, but this is going to be a switched 12 volt lead, which when it's activated will tell this amplifier that it needs to power up. If we've installed an aftermarket head unit as the source, this is oftentimes going to be a blue wire, which is the accessory turn on, or if we are using the stock vehicle system to send signal to this amplifier, we may need to track down a turn on lead that turns on and off with the radio of the vehicle. Now, a few notes here on the remote wire, it is quite common to use a smaller wire size. As you can see in this amplifier wiring kit, they give us this small 18 gauge wire for connecting the remote. And the reason that it's okay to use this smaller wire is this circuit is only going to have a few milliamps of current. Something else worth noting though is many amplifiers will have a feature that makes it so that we don't necessarily need to use that remote connection. Some amplifiers allow us to change the turn-on mode, which instead will monitor the input of the actual electrical signal for the musical signal, and once it detects that there is music coming in on that electrical signal, it's then going to turn on the amplifier. This is helpful for instances where it is hard to track down a switched 12-volt lead, but my recommendation would be for you guys to always try to track one down if you can, because that's always going to be the most reliable method of turning the amplifier on and off. Now, the next group of connections to talk about is how we actually get signal into this amplifier to be amplified. These right here are RCA style inputs. These are considered low-level inputs. To make this connection, we'll be using a set of RCA cables, and these typically come in a left-right pair. One end connects to our amplifier, and the other end connects to our source unit. Now, the main time that you'll be using RCA connections like this is when you have an aftermarket radio installed in the vehicle, or if you're getting the signal from another aftermarket device, something like a digital signal processor or a line output converter. The other way to get signal into our amplifier is to use what's considered a high level or speaker level input. Now, on some amplifiers, there'll be a separate connection for high level versus what we already talked about with these low level inputs. But on this particular amplifier here, what you do is you get this adapter, and this allows you to connect to the speaker wires of the factory system in order to send signal into this amp. On amplifiers that have this sort of functionality that allows you to use these same connections as both a low level and high level input, you'll typically see a switch like this right here that allows us to tell the amp which sort of input source voltage we would like to use. Now, with today's latest vehicles, this challenge of getting the correct signal into your amplifier is usually the most challenging part of the install. It is critical to use the correct signal. As an example, if you're installing a subwoofer amplifier and using the factory system for the source, you need to be sure that where you get the signal actually has subwoofer bass frequency information. Otherwise, your system simply won't play bass. To learn more on this topic and some options for interfacing with a factory system, check out my related video. And I know I've mentioned these related videos a few times now. I'm going to put a full list for you guys down in the video description. The next common connection that you're going to see on amplifiers that needs to be made is for a remote level control. Now, don't get confused with the other remote connection here that tells the amplifier to turn on and off. This actually does affect the way the amplifier plays and performs. Typically, this connection is going to be this old telephone style connection, and this allows you to connect a remote control knob to the amplifier. Now, the way that this is used changes from manufacturer to manufacturer, and it's not necessarily a universal part, so you need to make sure that you get the correct control knob that the manufacturer recommends. The whole point of this connection is it allows you to control some aspect of the amplifier remotely from the front of the vehicle. The most common application is to control the level of bass. And on this 5-channel amplifier, that's exactly what it does. We can control the output of the bass independently from the output of the rest of the system. This is why it's commonly referred to as a bass knob, but it is worth noting on other amplifiers, especially amplifiers that have a digital signal processor inside, those can allow you to connect to them with a computer and choose what this knob is going to do. There are some applications where you may want to use it as a full system control, or other applications, like we said, where you just want to control that subwoofer independently. The next set of connections here is for all of the speaker outputs. These are the wires that are going to connect to the amplifier, and then on the opposite end are going to be connected to your speakers and your subwoofers. This is why, once again, why in amplifier wiring kits, it's common to get some speaker wire. Now, a few notes here, depending on your system design, sometimes you may not necessarily run to a speaker, but instead run to a crossover first, which in this case, this is a component speaker crossover. So you would have one channel of connections, a positive and negative, connected into the crossover here. And then this crossover here divides up the frequencies and allows us to send that signal out to two different speakers or drivers. And that way we could connect both a woofer and a tweeter. It's also worth noting that the number number of connections that you have on the amplifier doesn't necessarily limit the amount of speakers that you can connect to that channel, or subwoofers would probably be the more common thing. Let's say that we wanted to run 4 subwoofers, we would be more than capable with doing that with this amplifier as long as we wire them correctly at the correct impedance. And you guessed it, that's a full other topic that we definitely want to make sure that we understand. But with that said, there you have it, all of the basic wire connections for an aftermarket amplifier. To learn more about the different amplifier wiring topics that we discussed in this video, be sure to check out the related playlist and videos here on screen. Next time you're wiring an amplifier, don't forget our show sponsor KnuKonceptz with their amplifier wiring kits. You can learn more at the links down in the video description. A big thanks to them, along with Jerry and the rest of the Patreon membership team, for making these videos possible, and thank you guys for tuning in and watching.